Which propaganda effort was so successful, people still believe it today? When Edward Bernays, the father of public relations, literally renamed propaganda that we want people to think is not bad to public relations and advertising, and he literally admitted it in a book he made called Propaganda. Propaganda is, quite literally, just media that is attempting to persuade you. It might be honest or dishonest, but, no matter what, it is still propaganda. Nothing amazing about this to people who speak other languages. The Portuguese word for advertisements is literally propaganda. Nothing really insidious is connotated to it either. When we see a children's toy ad we just call it propaganda de brinquedas toy propaganda. Edit. Brazilian Portuguese, not Portuguese Portuguese. When Edward Bernays, the father of public relations, literally renamed propaganda that we want people to think is not bad to public relations and advertising, and he literally admitted it in a book he made called Propaganda. Propaganda is, quite literally, just media that is attempting to persuade you. It might be honest or dishonest, but, no matter what, it is still propaganda. Nothing amazing about this to people who speak other languages. The Portuguese word for advertisements is literally propaganda. Nothing really insidious is connotated to it either. When we see a children's toy ad we just call it propaganda de brinquedas toy propaganda. Edit. Brazilian Portuguese, not Portuguese Portuguese. Many Korean people believe that fans can cause death. Even my mother, who moved to America in her mid-teens, still prohibits me from leaving a fan on overnight for fear of death. There is a conspiracy theory that the South Korean government spread this myth as propaganda to prevent energy overusage, but its origins are unknown. It's strange that many Koreans believe this myth considering it is one of the most technologically advanced countries. I've heard also that some suicides are covered up by the police reporting that a fan was left on and blaming it on that, publicly at least. Not sure how true that is. I've heard that as well. Though it should be noted a lot of post-war Korean homes were heated by small furnaces with exhaust flues going under the floor, which is why most modern Korean homes have heated floors. The problem being that the furnaces were coal-fired and any leak would result in a deadly carbon monoxide or dioxide, can't remember right now, leak into the home which may have fueled the fan death myth. Edit. I'm well aware of the dangers of carbon monoxide and other gases, but I thank you all nonetheless for the SAS on the threat of carbon monoxide. Please heed these warnings and buy a co-detector. Engagement rings are required for marriage. In Germany, you buy one ring. When you are engaged, you wear it on the left hand. When married, you switch it to the right. Very practical. Carrots make your vision better. This rumor was started in WW2 to hide the invention of radar. The public was told that Allied pilots found the German bombers during the Blitz because they had good eyesight, because they ate their carrots. But in reality it was that the British had an early radar system in place that they did not want the Germans to find out about and bomb. But hey, they hid their technology from Nazis. They convinced children to eat their vegetables. Everyone wins. And carrots can help keep you from going blind and dying if you have a vitamin A deficiency because of beta carotene. That teeth are supposed to be perfectly white. People should know that a healthy set of teeth doesn't mean they're perfectly white. Super white teeth are not even normal. Our enamel will slowly become more translucent as we age, revealing the color of the dentin, which is yellow, underneath it. That's why as we get older, our teeth will become yellower. Doesn't mean they're not healthy or unclean. MSG will kill you and is horrible to ingest. I'm allergic to MSG. Really, it is delicious and your body produces it naturally while breaking down regular salt. Some people do have sodium issues and it may not be good for them, but that's a tiny macro percentage of people. There's MSG in breast milk, tomatoes and parmesan cheese etc etc. It is a natural component of most protein containing foods. Sodium or glutamic acid are in literally everything, the latter being an amino acid. You couldn't be allergic to MSG without being allergic to those, at which point eating anything would be bad for you. That you need to eat 3 or more large meals per day to be happy and healthy, and that a sugary breakfast is by far the most important part of that day. That big curvy line of toothpaste with a Dairy Queen curl we've seen in every toothpaste ad. You don't need more than a pea-sized smear of paste on your brush. I always only use a little pea-sized, but I have also never really thought about the massive squeeze they put on the brush in the commercials, lol. Do you think they did this so you go through their product faster, meaning you have to buy more? That's exactly why. Same goes for other things. For instance, the Plop Plop Fizz Fizz commercial for Alka-Seltzer showing the person taking 2 tablets. Knuckle cracking gives you arthritis. Is cracking your knuckles actually bad for you in any way? There is research that shows it may make your grip weaker over time, but it's minimal and takes many years. Lie detector tests are accurate. They are junk science at best. People, when the inventor of the device and procedures used is on record saying it's poop, we should probably listen. Looking at you, Florida, for allowing LD test results as evidence in court. They're such horseshit. I lost my job as a government contractor because of a lie detector test. I wasn't damn lying. That test just made me nervous as frick. That turning the light on in the backseat of the car is illegal. Am I the only kid whose father simply said it makes it harder to see? Yes, and once I started driving I realized why my dad got so mad. This is so true. I wonder what else my parents said that made no sense that I will understand later. That if you ask if someone is a cop, if they are a cop, they legally are required to say yes they are. Of course they aren't required to. That defeats the entire purpose of working undercover. I think this is getting confused a lot with if someone claims to be a cop, they have to show their credentials, if you ask, because fake cops can be hired, or people can pose as law enforcement. Sugar companies paid the media to say that fat made you fat. I mean, all food in extreme amounts will put you on the heavy side, but sugar is a true villain here. I was reading an old Life magazine from the 60s the other day. Was very interesting seeing how different adverts were. There were a few advocating Coca-Cola, orange juice, and adding sugar to soft drinks as sugar was the best to keep us going throughout the day. Now sugar is seen so differently, and in the UK sugary drinks are taxed to encourage people not to buy them. That Napoleon Bonaparte was short. He was 5 feet and 7 inches tall, which might be a little bit on the shorter side by modern standards, but it was around the average height for people back then. The idea that he was short actually came from a British propaganda campaign to mock him. Also, due to starting out as an artillery officer, when he got high rank, he sometimes liked to micromanage the cannons, a job meant for corporals. This earned him the nickname Little Corporal from his troops. It's a term of endearment. The Brits may have heard it and put more emphasis on the little part. The lie that nuclear power is terrible. It is worse than renewables. However, instead of chucking huge quantities of dangerous waste into the air like a coal power plant, it can all be contained, and 95% can be reprocessed into new fuel. In the 60s and 70s, a lot of oil giants used advertising to link its reputation to the very real danger of nuclear weapons, and if this hadn't have happened, global warming would have been much less of an issue. Very few people realize that coal power actually causes more deaths per MW than nuclear power due to nitrous oxide emissions, even when Chernobyl is included in the statistics. Edit. A lot of people are saying that nuclear is as good, or possibly better than renewables. I agree that at the moment, for baseline power, it is better, and we should be using it a lot more. In the long term though, I think that renewable are a better solution due to not needing refueling and needing less oversight. Once production of the power plants themselves becomes cleaner and better storage solutions are devised. Diamonds as a symbol of eternal love. Also the belief that diamonds are rare, when in reality it's because they are artificially scarce. I mean, they are pretty rare, cause they are only found below level 20 or so. Takes me a while to just find one. And then when you break the block, it was actually above lava and the diamond falls in and burns up. Autism and vaccines. The original guy wanted to advertise his own vaccine, but did not disclose this when he published a hit piece on the mainstream vaccine at the time, in a reputable journal. His alternative vaccine failed. His paper was bashed and ultimately retracted, yet people smart enough to work at Google don't vaccinate their kids. Andrew Wakefield, a former gastroenterologist and the man responsible for this anti-vax Swift show, originally wanted to prove that vaccines were responsible for bowel disease as well as linking it to autism. He was put through a tribunal by the GMC. It was found that not only had he lied about his research, but was found to have committed 12 acts of abuse against developmentally disabled children after he put them through unnecessary and invasive procedures to try and prove that vaccines were responsible for autism and bowel disease. He put young children through unnecessary colonoscopies and lumbar punctures, spinal taps. He was struck off from the medical register and is no longer allowed to practice medicine. He continues to make a living promoting and speaking at anti-vaccine propaganda events. People should remember that anti-vaxxers are looking to an abuser found to have put developmentally disabled children through unnecessary medical procedures for advice. Let's not understate how much of a piece of Swift the man is. Nixon's drug campaign. Do you mean his anti-drug crusade, or the fact that the CIA was the global drug trade at that point? That monosodium glutamate, MSG, is harmful. If such analogy were ever possible, it has never been proven. You'd literally die because it means you're either allergic to sodium or glutamate, which are in almost every single food or drink known to man. That Listerine invented the term halitosis for bad breath. They didn't. It predates them by decades. It's just something that sounds nice to say because you get to attack a big corporation. MSG occurs naturally in so many foods. Tomatoes, broccoli, mushrooms, potatoes, corn, peas, clams, oyster scallops, cured ham, green tea, grape juice. I'm from Germany and some of my grandparents still believe the stuff they were told about Jews by the Nazis. Like when a Jewish person dies on a Christian holiday, they get hung behind the door and everyone who comes in has to spit on him. It's some vile stuff. I can't believe how they were spoon-fed with this in their early years. Edit. Another one I remember is that they were told that at a Jewish funeral, the dead person gets a stone put in their pocket, so if they cross Jesus in the afterlife they can throw it at him. That a man should spend 2 months' salary for his future wife's wedding ring, which absolutely must be a diamond. Screw that. I spent a total of $150 for my wife's ring and she freaking loves it, and it's a sapphire. Diamonds are no more precious than any other precious gem, and manufactured gems are way easier to come by, are more perfect, and so much cheaper. As long as it's an actual ruby / sapphire / emerald / etc, it will be just as good as one dug out of the ground. Fake ones are good for a teen gift or just friends kind of gift, but they'll shatter pretty easy compared to the real thing. Edit. Thanks for the silver, random beautiful person. Manufactured gems are also exactly the fricking same. They're heated pressurized carbon, damn it. Only real difference is no one died for the ones coming from a lab. The Armenian genocide never happened. My Turkish friends still believe this. President Erdogan wants to know your location. Drinking fountains are unhealthy. The bottled beverage industry commissioned and publicized a series of studies in the early 1990s when they decided to get into the bottled water business. The problem was that their largest competitor was free and available in schools, parks, and public buildings everywhere. Anyone who took even a semester of biology knows that if you walk around and swab and culture anything, you'll find that it's covered in bacteria. That's ecology on planet Earth. Nestle done a smear campaign saying formula feeding is best. They mainly done it in third world countries. Nestle owns majority of formula companies, so they got rich, and uneducated third world countries suffered as they would rather use this healthier option, but made it with dirty water, meaning children died, which wasn't needed as most have no issue making breast milk. Nestle is amongst the most evil companies in the world, and they are still doing these messed up practices today. The way they monopolize water sources should be outright illegal. The McDonald's hot coffee smear campaign to hide the lawsuit. That fat is the thing to avoid in foods, taking away the spotlight from sugar. Do you feel the same way about saturated fat? That sugar is the thing to avoid in foods, taking away the spotlight from fat. Seriously, both of these have so much propaganda fueled research put into them that it's hard to prove one way or the other if either is good or harmful. Apparently in the 80s KFC ran a Christmas themed ad in Japan, and to this day the Japanese eat KFC on Christmas. When I was in Japan on Christmas, I won some dumb quiz at a party and they gave me fried chicken, because they believed that was our traditional Christmas food. It was ridiculous, and it is one of those really odd memories of mine. Hate to break it to Japan, but Chinese tequila is the official food of Christmas. That is if some dog related tragedy befalls your turkey. Okay guys, don't forget to hit that sub button, also ring that shiny bell, like and share too, and check out other videos in our channel.